Hello. Okay, this is new. Oh wait, I didn't set up properly. Hold on. Okay, sorry. I had to set up my Kindle library on my laptop so that I can go forth and pull up references when I can if they are available on Kindle Unlimited. Otherwise, we will be using physical books. But hi, I started reading again after like 10 years because I was that one kid that would have a different book every day, and then I stopped reading, just like cold turkey. And I figured we would talk about everything that I read in the month, like between like June 22nd and end of July, so roughly a month-ish. And it ended up being a grand total of 3. I DNF this, we'll talk about it. So about 6 books. I read about 6 books in the span of about a month, a little over a month. And we'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about this. But let's get into it. Also, I have been reading a book on my Kindle, and we will talk about that as well. I haven't finished it because I've been reading it only at work. And that's kind of it's just been my workbook. So, yeah. But hi, I'm Sarah. I figured it'd be good to talk about hobbies online, and as I started reading, I kind of realized I really wanted to yap about it. So that's what we're gonna do here. So I initially read The Fourth Wing. That was the first book that I read, actually, and it was fantastic. I gave this a 5 stars, actually, mostly because it got me back to reading, so I think that alone warranted 5 stars for me. I have a very loose rating system. If I really like your book, you'll get a very good review. If I really didn't like it, then we'll discuss that. I will say that the only book that I gave in this book, or in this video that I gave, like a very unfavorable rating, I gave Metal Slinger 1 star. But we'll talk about that later. I also want to do a full review of this. But Fourth Wing, Violet Sorrengail is she's trained her whole life to join the Scribe Quadrant. Her mom, who is the general, the top general of the Basgiath? Yeah. Basgiath? It's Gaelic. I am really bad pronunciation. 1 second. I will learn pronunciation and come back. Okay, so I was right. It was Basgiath. Basgiath War College, every year, a certain amount of people from each region of Navarre have to enroll in Basgiath War College, either in infantry quadrant, which is basically foot soldiers, the scribe quadrant, which they are meant to keep historical records. They're scribes, pretty straightforward, and the healers quadrant, also once again very self-explanatory. And finally, the Writers Quadrant. The Writers Quadrant is they ride dragons. Pretty cool. Pretty sick in my opinion. And I think this book actually, this book kept me really on my toes. I really enjoyed it. Or not on my toes, I guess on the edge of my seat. That's a better way to go. Because on my toes was the Inheritance games. But this kept me on the edge of my seat. I have not read a book in 10 years, like I said. About 10 years, for fun, we'll say, mostly for fun. That's the stipulation. I've read stuff for class, for school, but me picking up a book and cracking it open, actually it's probably been more 8 years. This is the first book in a hot minute that I've finished. I have started other books, I have not finished the book. But it's good. I do think it does deserve some criticism in terms of it does get kind of edgy. I think reading or watching, it kind of reads a bit like a Divergent in a little bit in terms of its initiation and fighting and wearing all black and that kind of thing. But otherwise, I do think it's it's a good time. I do think it's a good time. I also like when books add maps to the front of the books. That always makes me really happy to see. Mostly because even if I don't refer to it, then I can still look at it, see where we are, and at least have an idea of the lay of the land. But yeah, that's The Fourth Wing. Iron Flame, I think I gave this one 4 stars actually, because I do think this one had some pacing issues. I didn't actually write full Goodreads reviews for either of these. I think maybe this one I was like, oh, it's fun, read it. But this one I don't think I read it. I actually wrote any kind of any sort of review for. But I do think it has some pacing issues. It does get kind of slow, and then at some point it picks up again, so I do think that this book could have been either a little shorter. A lot of this book is spent traveling back and forth. And that's about all I got for it. And that's why I gave this one 4 stars, just because I think there was some stuff that we could have cut from the book. And then Onyx Storm. I enjoyed this one. This one was good. I think it also had a little bit of pacing issues. I think that there were definitely places we should have spent more time exploring or fleshing out. I think I gave this one also 4 stars. I might have given it 4.5 rounded up. This one's basically, a lot of this one is spent trying to find resources to fight the big bad and also solve a conflict that arose in the last book, which I cannot talk about because it is another major plot point that will probably persist till the end of the series. So it was traveling to other islands to find the big bad. I did think that otherwise this was very good. Sorry, I lose my train of thought very often. The other islands were described very well. I thought they were very fun to read about. I kind of just wish we had spent more time on some of these ones. But I also think that there was some fun family drama thrown in here. Can't talk more about that one. Onyx Storm was good. I think that the ending of the book made me, like everyone else who has read this, I do want to know what happens next. I do want to know what do you mean? What do you mean about this ending? Like, what did this mean? Like, what? I don't want to give any spoilers, but that's why these two are described very vaguely. I don't want to give spoilers onto like actual plot points. Like this one, like the first book, I can talk about a little more openly, like with the base plot, but I don't want to like go in too deeply into the other two because I don't want people who haven't read it yet and want to read it to get too spoiled, because while I don't care about spoilers, I know other people do. I will talk about this real quick because I do bring this up in a later point in this video, but I don't like one book because I think that it was not named well. These ones I think are named well purely because they do relate to a plot point, a very major plot point. So that's why I like these ones, even if they don't seem like their titles are fully matching up for a very vast majority of the book, except for Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is named pretty on the nose. Like you're going into the Fourth Wing. But yeah, I think that's all I got for this one. But we'll move on. From past me to future you. Oh yeah, I don't know if I bring it up in the end part, but this is written as a historical account. That's something I don't know if a lot of people picked up on, but it is written as a historical account of all the events of the series. So it's technically written in past tense because it is an account, a historical account of all the events of the book, following Violet with occasional aside POVs from other characters, which I do think, I hope that it doesn't become a habit that like the next books are not written like in a gazillion different POVs, because I do think that that might make me drop it. I do like at the end getting POVs from other people, because I think it gives more insight to the ending of the book, but I don't want it throughout the whole book because you either pull it off really well or it is not great. So, yay! So, because I'm filming on my phone. Alright, so then I moved on to Babel by R.F. Kuang because everyone had been suggesting it. I actually got gifted this twice by 2 different people, and I kept one copy. I think the other one I gave to Goodwill or something like that. So if you got a copy of Babel from Goodwill, you might have gotten my copy, or a British copy actually. I think that's the one I gave up. But I enjoyed this. A lot of people thought this book was very pretentious, and I will agree that it has it's pretty lofty. I think it's pretty heavy in terms of not even just like content, or its themes and stuff like that, but just in terms of its content. It is once again written as a historical account, kind of similar to the Fourth Wing. I feel like that they don't sit at the same table, but I feel like they're in the same lunchroom. I enjoyed both of these because I feel like they had both this had very political themes. This had very political themes. And maybe that's why I enjoyed both of these books, because I do enjoy kind of political themes in my books. But Babel's fantastic. It's about imperialism and the effects of it, and the how it is very destructive. It doesn't benefit anyone, and how we very blasé treat people as resources. which is actually a really big problem that we see in like linguistics as a general. I have a degree in that, and so when I was doing like my field methods class, we were talking a lot about how when you read a lot of papers that are talking about like grammar structures and stuff like that, especially if they're really, really old, a lot of the time it was because the culture was taken advantage of and then the person took credit. But a lot of the time these books will not have, or these like grammatical overviews or books that are about languages, they won't have, they won't credit the people that they actually talk to get this information. They won't talk about their language consultants, as we would call them. So, and it was stressed to us to mention who you're talking to or who your language consultant was when you're doing like field work. And also, it's better to go through a language consultant than just like immersing yourself straight up. There's ethics and law. There's like ethics to this whole thing. We had to take a city certification course for that, which was you do that if you do sociology work as well. It's like working with people, like how not to mess people up when you're doing this kind of work, because it is really easy to go in and just like upturn everything, like point in case right here. Babel's fantastic at talking about this. I will never shut up about this book. It was fantastic. I also really enjoyed all the footnotes in the book. This book has a lot of footnotes talking about anything from papers that were referenced, if they're historical documents, and how Kwong feels about them. It talks about like how Babel got a hold of certain manuscripts sometimes. But basically, yeah, historical context, extra context, like narratively, and then also just very good. This book made me really mad too, but like mad in a good way. Like it's supposed to make you mad, because there's a lot of it does talk about racism and, like I said, imperialism, and how these people are plucked from their homelands and just used for their language, like their linguistic abilities, and it's pretty horrifying actually when you think about it. But yeah, great book. If you like heavier topics, or you don't mind a heavier topic in your book, I do suggest it. I think everyone should read this book, but I do know that like it's not everyone's cup of tea, and some people don't want to read something that's very heavy. But I do think it's great, and I also am going to see meet her and get this and Catabasis, or however, I think it's Catabasis, signed. So yay! When it comes out, but actually I'm going in a month. Anyway. Next, so I wanted something a little lighter after this. I did need a little bit of a, not palate cleanser, but I guess basically, like, this was a good book, but I was feeling a little sad at the end of it, because there were some deeply horrifying things in this book, not even just, like, in terms of its themes, but also narratively. There were some things in this book that I was just like, oh man, that's a lot, to take in. So I was like, oh, like, I hear things about the Zodiac Academy. I DNF this up 84 pages, actually. Let me get you my exact page. 84 pages, yes. This book, I thought it looked pretty familiar in terms of its title, and I couldn't remember why it seemed very familiar to me. It's because when I was a wee lass on Wattpad, I think I remember seeing this being published on Wattpad, and it looks like they did no edits to this. I never actually ended up reading it, but it does read very Wattpad-like, and I felt like I was sold to one direction, and I could not do it. It really has the gauntlet. It has everything in here. Like, it's very Wattpad, like, in terms of its very essence. Like, if you just want to read something and it's you don't really care about, like, you just want a good time and you don't really mind about writing quality. The writing quality, like I said, is very, it's writing. It's not my favorite, but I didn't even give this a rating because I don't like giving ratings to books I didn't finish. But I did DNF it. So, that's all I gotta say about it. It's got vampires, it's got werewolves, it's got celestial people, it's got, 2 orphan girls that, escaped their abusive father, which I thought that was actually interesting. Like, that whole piece was pretty cool, and how they got to the school was pretty cool. But, I couldn't, after we started getting to Boys Over Flowers, and then it was just not, like, a well-done Boys Over Flowers. I'm sorry. My breaking point was, who is this? This is Darcy. So there's Darcy and there's Tori, and they're twins. Yeah, Darcy's POV, and they're like, yes, you have to go. So they meet these, like, 4 guys, right? And they're, like, the heirs to the celestial throne. They have to, like, they awaken element powers, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, what if they had, like, 2 and 2? Well, it turns out they both have all 4. And then when they get to the school, it's, they have to pick a house based on, like, what element they want to focus on, which I feel like if you have all 4 elements, why wouldn't you just, like, practice all 4 and maybe specialize in one? But apparently in this school, if you have more than one element, the other one or ones just fall to the wayside, which I think is kind of whack. Sorry if I see that I'm not making eye contact with the camera. I'm making eye contact with myself, and it's just, I'm getting used to this. I'm not used to filming myself. Anyway, I'm gonna look up, hold on, I'm gonna see actually how old the authors were when they wrote this book, and also when this one is, because I feel like it feels very familiar to me. And it could have been when I was little and I saw this, or it could have been when I was older. But, one moment. Okay, according to the official fandom wiki, it was originally published in like 2019, which I would have been around at that point on Wattpad, even just sporadically. But basically, yeah, it reads like a Wattpad book. I didn't enjoy it. I'll just say that. And going from Babel to Zodiac Academy, the thing is, I got warned that this was a jump, but I didn't think it was made that bad of a jump. And I was like, oh, like, it's a big book, like, you know, whatever. It got picked up as a traditionally published book, like, whatever. Once again, I'm kind of like reading a little of everything to figure out what I want to read, and this just wasn't it. So I'm actually gonna probably give this away or do something else with it. But yeah, so that's that. Instead, that same night, I started reading the Inheritance games, and that one was really good. This one is basically a girl gets like, it's a very much a rags to riches Cinderella sort of story. I think it actually is called described on the book as a Cinderella sort of story, and in the book as well. Avery is she recently lost her mom, and she's been living with her sister, and suddenly she's just like told, hey, like, by the way, like, you got written into this guy's will. And she's like, who is that guy? And she's inherited billions of dollars, and she never knows why. She never figured out why, or doesn't know exactly why she's been written into this guy's will, but she's like told, like, you have to live in his mansion for a year, and after that, inheritance is yours. And she's like, okay. But then it's just like a lot of family drama, and I think it read really easy because of that. It's also 300 pages, so I breezed through this in about a day. I want to say about 8 hours. I also read the 2 chapters at the end of the book. I'm actually kind of upset that I didn't buy the next 2 books, but I think I might save the other books to read in between, like, other, like, heavier books that I want to read. It was 372 pages, and then there's like 2 chapters at the end, which I want to say taxed on an extra like maybe 10 pages or 15 pages, so about 400 pages. And it was great. I enjoyed this one. It actually really kept me on my toes. I thought it was very well paced in terms of like, I thought it was well paced, and I really liked I liked the puzzles. I thought it was actually going to be like she had to like compete for them, but actually it's more just unraveling a deeper mystery of like why she was chosen in particular. So that was really cool. Also, it's very early on established that she is not related to anyone in this family, which I think was a very good thing to do. But and if you read the book, you'll understand why. My unfortunate last book from the month, aside from the one that I read on my Kindle, which we'll talk about that one. I enjoyed that one. Was Metal Slinger, and you can see I've actually tabbed this book. I started tabbing books about this point, about halfway through the book, and that was because this book started making me mad. I don't actually. This book, you know the saying where it's like this meeting could have been an email. This book could have been an email. This book could have been a lot shorter, and it was very uninteresting. At first, I was vibing with it, and then it just got really boring, and then the ending just made no sense. So Bryn is part of the Alaha people, and she has been part of that since about 13. She has no memories before that, and I want to do a larger like review of this book and like synopsis, but basically, yeah, she's been part of the Alaha people since she was like 12, and she's been training for the guard, and they decide to, like, when they turn 18 and they graduate from the Alaha Guard Academy or whatever, they get to go to Kenta, which is the only place on land that they are allowed to go, because Alaha was banished from land centuries ago. When she's in Kenta, she encounters a guard or a soldier or whatever, who tries to frame her for stealing, and at first I thought this was the meet cute, alright, and but it's not. But it awakens magic in her. He forces her hand onto his wall. Sorry, this is gonna be a really big spoiler for Metal Slinger, and I thought this would be cute because I thought this would be a fun like story. What I will say is that the term Metal Slinger actually shows up in the book a grand total of 4 times. it's 11 times total, but 7 of those times are in acknowledgements or on the cover screen. So when you do term search on Kindle, that's why I want my laptop out actually to begin with, you can do term searching. And Metal Slinger, in the context of the narrative, like in the actual prose, shows up 4 times in the second half of the book, by the way. It doesn't start until page 200. Page 200, page 215, page 233, page 432. And that is it. Those are the only 4 occasions of the term Metal Slinger being used in the book. And it's not actually in reference to the female MC. It is in reference to the male MC, Acker, who is a piece of wet cardboard, but slightly more interesting than Bryn. I liked him a little bit more than I liked Bryn. Also, this book, there's no chemistry between these 2 characters. Sorry, I think I just will rip into it. There's no chemistry between them. It's just not a good time. I finished it purely because by the point I started getting like a massive ick about the book, I was almost finished. So I was like, I might as well just like, if I'm gonna review it, I might as well have receipts. That's why I'm not gonna do a full review on Zodiac Academy, because I haven't finished it, and I don't think I will be finishing it. But this one, we're gonna have a discussion, because it's just not good. And I will say the twist at the end makes no sense. I know this book has a very solid like 4.3 stars on Goodreads, and I am pretty baffled as to how it ended up getting that review. There's a whole section where I don't think the editor actually really did too much of a work in this book, because there's a whole section between page 308 and 309 where I have no clue what was going on and where people ended up how they did. And it's not like a spicy scene or anything like that. It's just like a general like conversation scene between 4 characters, and suddenly they're like in one room and then they're in another room, and there's just no like. It's really there's just, I don't think an editor actually looked over this book. Let's see, what's my other tabs? Yeah, someone brought up the term in Goodreads reviews of dang rabbits being used, and I think it's supposed to be like dag nabbit. But there's no like trace back as to why she says this, and I think it'd be cuter, or like I feel like if we had some kind of context on like maybe why she said it, I think it would make a little more sense, but it does kind of pull you out of the text. Yeah, the rest is a twist, which I'll do the full review about that. But, and then I feel like there's just some Mean Girl things in here that I feel like were just not jiving with me. I just didn't like Metal Slinger. I didn't think it was great, particularly. I will not be reading the next book, because this book made me so mad, actually, at the very end. Because, like I said, the twist made no sense. I would rather have been another, like, 20 pages of nothing than whatever twist that was, because that sucked. Cool. Anyway, we're gonna go to what I've been reading on my Kindle. I haven't finished it, but I do want to talk about it because I am enjoying it, and it's A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, which was released like pretty early in the month rather. And I think it's really cute. It's just a very cozy one. I figured it'd be okay to read at work. If anyone looks over my shoulder, it's not like crazy. Oh, you can't see my Kindle on here, but it's okay. I'm about 191 pages through it, and I'm really liking it. It's really sweet and cute. In terms of what else I'm reading right now, hold on, I gotta go grab it real quick. As of what else I'm reading, as of August 3rd, I am about 165 pages through The Will of the Many by James Islington. And this is great. I completely understand the hype on this one. This one was good. Appropriately hyped. And I know I'm not like quite in the main conflict yet, but as of right now, appropriately hyped. So, very much worth the very solid rating. I think it's like 4.8 or whatever on Goodreads that it has. I could be really overshooting that, but it's got good reviews, and it's got good reviews for a reason. But yeah, and then this is the start of my bookshelf. I do have other books on the other side of the room. I have a lot of shelves in my room, but these are the kind of the books that I'm like looking to read, and we'll talk about them after I read them. But yeah, anyway, I think that's all I got. Yeah, this was good. Read this. Definitely read this. Read these. These are great. This one was like, if this had been written a little bit better, I think I would have enjoyed it. But I think it was just like, yeah. I think I started frowning very deeply, and then when I start frowning really deeply, that's when I stop enjoying the book. This one, like I said, I got so, by the point that I was like starting to really feel the ick. At first I was just like, oh, maybe it's just like starting slow and maybe like it'll pick up. By the point I started like getting into it, I was like, or like starting to like really not like it. I was in too deep. I might as well finish the book. Do the Midwest goodbye. So I think I'll do that on this here. But yeah, thanks for watching, I guess.